Welcome to Ray's Rides. This is my story on my first rider I had to kick out of my vehicle due to disorderly conduct. Out of 9 years of doing rideshare, this is the first time I had to kick out someone of my vehicle due to them being disorderly and way too drunk to even be in a vehicle to begin with. To give context behind the situation, there was a large event going on in Orlando that particular weekend. Now, the event at hand does bring in a bit of a rowdy crowd each year to the city of Orlando. Where I was over by University of Central Florida, which is a solid 15 minutes away with no traffic away from the immediate downtown Orlando area where the event was being held. Now, with an event that large, it's bound to grow out to the surrounding areas of Orlando. With that, I proceeded over to pick up the rider, and in doing so, I came into a neighborhood that I've never been into before, where there was a absolute flood of vehicles blocking up the roadways getting over to the house. In perspective, think of it as walking into a car lot while they're bringing in new vehicles. Not to mention the amount of people migrating over to said house. Mind you, it's around midnight and there shouldn't be that many people in the neighborhood, let alone at that time. I finally make my way over to the house where there are two police officers with the lights on trying to make people leave the neighborhood, and no one is budging a single inch on it. Once I arrive, I notify my rider to let them know, hey, I am here, I'm ready to pick you up, where they proceeded to waste my time for a solid 15 minutes before making their way over to the vehicle and notifying me that they are supplying the ride for someone else, that they are still waiting on them. Another 15 minutes goes by, and I wanted to cancel the trip. However, with the amount of traffic and people in the roadways, it was just not a feasible thing for me to do. Once the aforementioned rider got to my vehicle, they proceeded to wait there on the outside of my vehicle for another 10 minutes before realizing that they had the ability to sit down in the back seat. Now, with the conversation going back and forth with the person that supplied the ride for said friend on the phone, talking to someone else that is trying to go to said house party that I'm picking them up from, it was an absolute casserole of nonsense. Now, the ride at hand would have paid out pretty decent had the rider continued on with it. But the rider was talking to a person on the phone and was not understanding a single word that the person on the phone was saying due to being incredibly intoxicated at that point in time. Which the writer proceeded to ask me several times in the matter of 10 feet to stop, wait, and hold on. Now, at the end of the day, my time is worth more than what you're trying to accomplish. And for you to waste my time with the clock running is not beneficial for me. After confirming with the writer that if we are going to be going to the location provided, we need to leave now. Otherwise, there are going to be more police officers coming into the neighborhood, and I will not be able to leave the neighborhood at any point. When the writer was very adamant on just sitting there and waiting, I told her that she had one of two options. Either A, we continue on with the trip and I bring you to where your friend is giving you the ride to, or B, you get out of my vehicle because I don't have time to waste like that. After she okayed going on with the trip, I proceeded to move forward, which I made it a whopping 20 feet away from the original location before she was adamant on once again stopping the car and waiting for said friend to come. Mind you, based off of what I could hear off the phone, the right person on the other side of the phone was anywhere between an hour and a half to 2 hours away. Now, I am a patient person. Over 9 years of doing rideshare will tend to do that to any individual, especially in the situations that you pick up most people that need a ride in an emergency. Clearly, this was not an emergency, and all this person was trying to do was just waste my time for their benefit. It was at that point that I told them to get the fuck out of my vehicle with extreme authority. After they mentioned that I was being extremely rude, I told them I do not care what your opinion is. You have wasted more than an hour of my time for no reason other than to work around your time. It was at that point that she started speaking another language, which I have no idea what it was. May have been drunkenese, or who the hell knows. And she decided to pour herself out of my car. And my God, I'm pretty sure that she left a crack in the concrete. Gist of the story is I'm a very patient person, and as long as you're willing to work with me, I'm willing to work with you, as should be said for most rideshare drivers out there. But if you're just being disorderly, unresponsive, and not willing to budge off of what you want to do versus my time and effort trying to help you out when I could be helping out other people and giving rides to other people, sorry, you lose all respect, and I will make sure to be the bigger dick if you're trying to be a dick towards me. Needless to say, I did have to present a poor report on the writer's behalf due to disorderly conduct and being incredibly intoxicated, which, for those that don't know, drivers are able to go through and do that because at the end of the day, it's up to the driver to make sure that the following driver that picks up that rider up is going to be well taken care of or needs to know ahead of time that they're going to be a problem before getting in the vehicle. In conclusion, thank you again for listening to my story on how I had to kick out my first rider. Mind you, after 9+ years of doing rideshare and having my first story to kick out someone is really saying something. Not all riders are bad, and most riders are willing to work around the driver since it's up to the driver to make sure that they get from point A to point B to point C or however many stops are along the way. So, with that being said, thank you again for listening to Raise Rides, and we will have more content when it's available.